Hello, Dawn Moore at Allegiance Title Company. What I want to discuss with you today comes from having received several calls from frustrated buyer's agents. In this market where we are experiencing the lowest inventory we have seen in years, we have multiple buyers making bids on the same property. And, unfortunately, only one bid wins. The others are frustrated. This frustration, however, has been exacerbated by certain scenarios. The first is a buyer is told that if he makes an offer at a certain price, the seller will accept the offer. Or, two, when a buyer makes an offer, the listing agent states the seller has accepted the offer when in fact the seller has not even signed the contract yet. Or, third, worse yet, the listing agent sends an email to the effect that the seller has accepted the offer when in fact the contract has not yet been signed. First and most importantly, we all know that for a contract for the sale of real property to be binding on the principals, the contract must be in writing. No oral agreements can bind the principals. An oral acceptance of a price is not binding on the seller. When the seller invites a buyer to make an offer at a certain price, all that is inviting the buyer to make an offer. Until the seller signs that offer without any material changes to the contract, it is not binding on the seller. When the listing agent states, either orally or by email, that the seller has accepted buyer's offer, but the contract has not yet been signed, that statement by the listing agent does not bind the seller. It is imperative for listing agents to avoid using the word accepted until the seller has fully executed the contract and has agreed to all of the material terms. This loose use of the word acceptance by listing agent has been a cause for disciplinary action by TREC because it is a misrepresentation of the status of the contract. The follow-up question then that I receive is, can an email constitute a written agreement and be binding upon the principals? Under the Texas Electronic Signatures Act, electronic signatures are as good as what I call wet signatures. However, the question becomes, what is an electronic signature? And under our law, it can be almost anything the party agrees to serving as his signature. If we can establish that an email constitutes the party's electronic signature, you must remember that emails from the real estate agents are not the same as emails from the principals. An email from the real estate agent cannot bind the principal. Unless the real estate agent is given a specific power of attorney to negotiate the sale terms, then the real estate agent, on behalf of the seller, then the real estate agent cannot bind the principal. And I do not recommend that real estate agents accept powers of attorneys from their principals because that contains an inherent conflict of interest. Now, what if the email accepting the price actually comes directly from the principal to the other principal? Is that binding? Possibly. But then I remind you that is possible only if all of the other material terms to the contract have been agreed upon. A buyer cannot argue that once we agree to price, the contract has standard terms to which the seller has agreed to, because all terms in our purchase contract are negotiable. Until all of the material terms have been agreed to in writing by both parties, this contract is not binding. Listing agents, please be careful not to misrepresent the status of the contract. It is our duty to treat all parties to the transaction honestly and fairly. When you misrepresent the status of the contract, it is cause for disciplinary action. I hope this information is of help to you as you deal in this market of multiple offers. Allegiance Title would like to be a resource for you both in education and your closing needs. Please call on us. We'd love to partner in your success. Thank you.